How's it going, everybody? It's Wardy here, and I am amped up to get into our latest Big Mets update segment. And not only did the New York Metropolitans sweep the Colorado Rockies in a 3-game set that we broke down in our latest live show this past day on the platform, please make sure to check it out as we broke down the ball game inning 1 through 9 and all the key takeaways for the Mets sweeping that series against the measly Rockies. And you can find it wherever you get your audio podcasts as well, because today in our latest Big Mets update segment, we have to talk about the bats officially breaking now. Not only is Francisco Lindor on an absolute monster tear that we're going to deep dive his latest numbers, we're also going to do that with Juan Soto, who is finally starting to find that swing and is in fact heating up. We're going to talk about the key heroics for the Mets on the offensive end as of late, what that will hopefully carry into in their 4-game set beginning later on tonight at the time of us first recording this video against the LA Dodgers, and I will be in attendance for Game 1 against the Dodgers with Paul Blackburn on the bump there. By the time you're watching this video, I'm likely already in LA as I had this video recorded the day prior, because we have so much to get into in this one to kickstart this week. And not only do we have to talk about Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto, what is going on with Mauricio, folks? The man is still red hot. It's not a matter of if, but when the Mets call him up this season. Carlos Mendoza spoke glowingly about Mauricio this past day. We're going to share some light on that. And ultimately, when is Ronnie going to get the call? Because he's doing everything and then some to warrant the call up, and rightfully so. And then we're going to wrap up the show by previewing a complete deep dive into this LA Dodger matchup of a 4-game set and getting into the latest on the farm that is separate from Mauricio himself, going from Port St. Lucie all the way up there to AAA Syracuse and everything in between. So thank you guys so much for hitting that like and subscribe on as you first chime in for our latest Big Mets update segment. And I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below your key thoughts and analysis to the following topics that we have to break down for each and every one of you. Shout out to our amazing sponsors today that make the show happen. Not only our great friends at SeatGeek that have you covered for all your ticketing needs, so check them out by clicking the link down below in the description. That way you too get 10% off your next ticket purchase. But also shout out to our awesome friends here at BetUS, that is America's #1 sportsbook. They have you covered whether it's picks, odds, lines, you name it, not just for sports betting, but they have the casino as well. So should you guys dabble in sports betting, please make sure you're doing it responsibly. That's the most important thing first and foremost. Should you guys dabble, but secondly, check out betus.com.pa today and utilize our promo code YouTube150. That way YouTube will get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, $125 on your second and your third, up to $2,000 for whatever you guys have interest in betting on. Again, at your own risk. Please make sure you guys are doing it all responsibly. We see here this graphic that was actually made from entering this Rockies series. And listen, the Mets now swept this past series against the Rockies. So how are they going to fare in their next series here beginning tonight at the time of you guys likely watching this video against the LA Dodgers in that 4-game set? For picks, props, odds, plays just like this. And I want to hear your series predictions in the comments down below, everybody. And shout out BetUS again, that has you covered with all you need on the sports betting front and casino. Because now, guys, let's get right into this conversation, and let's start off by talking about the biggest positive of all. It's not just Francisco Lindor. It's not just Juan Soto. It's not Edwin Diaz, now 12 for 12 in save situations this year, and absolutely making everyone, their mother, look absolutely hilarious trying to swing their bat against him. No, guys, let's talk about how the Mets' latest run of positive baseball by having a very successful homestand, winning every series here that we saw, from the Dodgers to the White Sox to the Rockies. Now 23-7 at home for the best home record in all of Major League Baseball, everybody. Let's talk about what that has led to, because yes, the New York Metropolitans are right back there in first place, everybody. After the Philadelphia Phillies just got absolutely swept by the Milwaukee Brewers, and I understand it's very early into the year. I usually don't care about standings, or even at this point in the year, I don't talk about a lot on the trade front yet, but that is going to start to change here now that we've officially entered summer and the month of June. We're going to start the trade conversations sooner than later on the platform, the same way we're going to continue to talk about what's happening in the standings. And the New York Mets now have leapfrogged the Phillies and are a full game above them now. And this was the same Phillies team. How did they get to first place? How did they get to north of 3 games ahead of the Mets over the past week to 10 days? That was by themselves going on an 8-game heater. And who did they beat in those 8 games? The Rockies, the A's, the Pirates. A bunch of bottom feeder baseball teams. Color me shocked that Phillies took care of business against teams they're supposed to, but when it comes to playing against teams like our New York Metropolitans, we know what the results have been so far this season. The Mets now a full game ahead there in first, and if the Mets do have themselves a successful 4-game set against the Dodgers, they can get oh so close to being 20 games above 500 on the season, which is so hard to fathom and say as a fan, because this time last year, the Mets were not at all in a position to even be above 500 yet. They were still crawling their way back, as we know, at this point a year ago. ago. So crazy how much a year difference can make. And Juan Soto, who obviously has not been the heaviest factor into the Mets' success so far this season, now has a chance to be a greater factor than what we have seen really in comparison to what we saw with the Mets and Lindor last year. Just know that the potential is still through the roof of this Mets team, but Juan Soto finally starting to heat up everybody, which is now a perfect segue into our conversation here as to what is working so well for the Mets on the offensive end. Well, folks, it has a lot to do again with the key boppers, including the three-headed monster. Because this past day, we not only had home runs from the Polar Bear and Pete Alonso, who had a 3-run ding-dong, which you love to see, obviously, for the Polar Bear. We saw another home run for Juan Soto for 2 in back-to-back games. I love to see that. And then, of course, you have the one and only, not just Juan Soto, the one and only, but our captain, El Captain, and Francisco Lindor, who had himself a week, everybody. Let's take a look at the past 7 games for Francisco Lindor, all in this homestand. In the process, Lindor posted 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, 7 runs scored, so a run scored per game, a 345 average, and a well over 1,000 OPS. I shouldn't say well over, just over 1,000 OPS, but you guys get the gist. Francisco Lindor came to play, and he came to play against a lesser opponent in the Colorado Rockies, which is always important. Even if you're, say, going to take it with a grain of salt as a fan, you got to beat the teams in front of you. It's not the Mets' fault that the schedule makers went, let's give you guys the best and worst teams in a week and a half to 2 week span. Because if we go back to this homestand beginning, it was the Dodgers at home, then it was the White Sox, then it was the Rockies. Now the Mets are on the road for a 4-game set against who? The Dodgers again. And then who's after that for next weekend? The Colorado Rockies in Colorado. With that baseball inflated there, obviously, hitting in Denver is not the same as hitting in other ballparks. So I don't know what has been going on with the schedule makers, but listen, the Mets don't have control in it. The players don't have control in it. And Francisco Lindor just showed out the best way that he knows how. Not only has Lindor been a true captain for the Mets since he's pretty much arrived here beginning in the 2021 season, but the growth that we've seen over the past calendar year, it's a year and a half, I would say, has been absolutely fantastic into showcasing his both on and off field ability. Lindor is one of these guys that we have seen notoriously known for having really slow starts to begin a season, at least as a New York Met, with the exception of 2022, because he wasn't horrendous to start the year, just obviously not his peak best baseball played at that point in time yet. What we saw Lindor do to begin the 2025 season is without question the best numbers that we have seen with him now in a Mets uniform. And quickly, Lindor is finding himself having a historic pace of a season as he just surpassed, yes, Derek Jeter for most home runs all time by a shortstop. And no, I'm not joking, everybody. Lindor has 261 to Jeter's 260, and now Lindor is 4th all time on the shortstop leaderboard. And I do believe that they're not having Mr. Banks on that leaderboard either, because what they were saying on the SNY broadcast yesterday, I believe holds true. He had a lot of those home runs towards the end of his career while playing first base, whereas Lindor has been a true shortstop his entire career. So for true shortstops who will play predominantly that position more than anything else by far, Lindor is now top 4 in Major League Baseball's history and the home run accolades. That's just insane. Knowing this guy's going to go into the Hall as a New York Met just has me so giddy as a fan. And I feel like he's not the only man that's currently in this Mets lab that's going to go into the Hall as a New York Met. And before we talk about other batters that could find themselves being for this Mets team in the future, let's expand a little bit more as to what's most notable about what Lindor is doing right now. Not only was Lindor fantastic, getting on base at least 8 times out of the 12 opportunities there in that 3-game set against the Colorado Rockies, but Lindor is a man who obviously is a flair for the dramatic, and he's had success against the Dodgers team, not just this season to a degree, but obviously when we take a look back to last year and just years prior, Lindor loves to step up in the big moment, and now he's going to have a greater opportunity than ever to lead this Mets team into what is going to be the fire of a 4-game set in LA against these Dodgers. Mets fans, I would love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. How impressed have you been with Francisco Lindor pretty much on a consistent basis all season long, but especially over the past week of games there against the lesser opponent in the Rockies, fully locking in and getting nice and steamy and red hot for that 4-game set out west against those Dodgers. Because like I said, Lindor's not the only man that's going to go in the Hall, more than likely rocking a Mets helmet. There is another man that he's batting right alongside for the most part, or at least he was, to begin the season, but the Mets lineup change appears to have been the better blessing for them as of now, and that has a lot to do with what we're seeing as of late, everybody, from, yes, you guessed it, the one and only Juan Soto. Let's talk about what Juan Soto is finally doing right versus what he was doing oh so wrong, especially leading into that series against the Yankees. No doubt about it that Soto was shaken to a degree by the opposing fans and really kind of got into more of a mental rut between not only being BABIP to hell, and what that means is he's just had some really, really bad luck with smoking baseballs. So many baseballs he's hit 95 to 100 plus miles per hour this year that have led to outs, specifically because of his ground ball rate has been fairly high this year in comparison to some other seasons. But Juan Soto, everybody, he had himself a truly, truly, truly fantastic latest outing, and let's get into that, everybody. And I do apologize, I realize I have the wrong stats put up. This was Juan Soto's numbers from this past game where he won 1 for 2, and that was certainly encouraging, but I thought I had more Soto numbers to pull up for you guys, so just give me 1 second as I try to do that. Here we go, and these are the proper Juan Soto numbers I want to showcase to each and every one of you. That's if they're even going to pull up. Are you going to load on me? I guess not. What is going on with the Wardy Tech? If you guys know a thing or two here on the platform, there's at least one little hiccup that tends to happen because we do all these live in real time. I don't like to go away and cut everything up and chop it up and take an extra 10 hours to pump out a 20 to 40 minute video. So instead, everybody, Wardy's just going to stay patient, diligent, and get what I'm looking for. And it appears that I've now found it. All right, look at this, everybody. Juan Soto's past 7 games, 2 home runs. With home runs in as many days over the past couple of days, we've seen 5 RBIs, a 174 batting average. So obviously we're not happy to see that, but a 788 OPS tells us that this is a sign in the right direction. And the most notable thing that I'm clearly seeing with Soto, going from a series where he didn't have one single hit. Yes, you hear that correctly. Juan Soto did not record one single hit against the Chicago White Sox when they came into town, but he definitely took care of business against the Colorado Rockies, got some middle pitches that he simply did not miss, and Soto going opposite field in the back-to-back fashion in Game 2 of their 3-game set against the Rockies to win that game that we broke down the platform by a final score of 8-2 to then win Game 3. They're pulling a baseball to the right side there, 5-3. The only thing that Juan Soto needs to start to do now and it is to actually drive in runners now with the home run ball, right? It feels like out of the 10 home runs that Juan Soto has hit this season, the vast majority have come with them being solo shots with no one on base. So I'm hoping that we see this home run swing naturally continue into the big series against the Dodgers, everybody. But there is some encouraging news about how Juan Soto may fare going from this homestand to the Dodgers. If there's anything to be encouraged by, it's the fact that Juan Soto actually doesn't have bad numbers. I mean, it's not shocking, it's Juan Soto, but Juan Soto at Dodger Stadium specifically in his career does have something to offer, including 5 home runs and 12 RBIs in just 20 games and 70 at-bats. We're looking at a 286 average, a 390 on base, and a 947 OPS. So he is definitely raked throughout his small stint there with the San Diego Padres to a degree, and a year-and-a-half span there playing out West Plenty, and the other times he's been in Dodger Stadium as a Washington National, and now what's about to be a New York Metropolitan or a New York Yankee, obviously from last year too. So Juan Soto, everybody, I know he's not even batting the Mendoza line this past week, but understand the context. A week prior to that, he wasn't batting higher than .077. He was horrendous. Got like no hits at all the previous week. So the fact that Juan Soto was able to put some balls in play this week, but also actually drive them out of the ballpark is encouraging. Now, what's going to be vital to see what Juan Soto and this Mets offense can do has a lot to do with what their splits have been on the road versus at home. At home, as I mentioned, the Mets have the best record in all Major League Baseball, and this is also the best record the Mets have had at home since their 1986 season throughout their first stretch of games to lead them to 23-7, if not 24-7. I know it's one of those numbers, everybody, so you guys can let me know in the comments down below which exact one it is. But the point is that even with the Mets off to a historic pace, everybody, there is still more work to do, and the context of how Juan Soto is now finally starting to heat up is very important, because to see Juan Soto hit 2 home runs the way that he did over the past couple of games, if this at all then leads into success in this Dodgers matchup and going forward on the road trip, then you have the Colorado Rockies next weekend, this is prime time for Juan Soto to potentially start to lock in and be more that batter that we're expecting him to be, especially for a guy who's had success in Dodger Stadium the way that he has, and the way that this Mets team obviously has had the unbelievable amount of success that they've had so far this season. Again, they're 37-22 at the time of me recording this video. I have very little to complain about as a Mets fan naturally right now. But if there's one thing that we've been nitpicking, it's been the early success or lack thereof of Juan Soto. But when we look at Juan Soto's percentiles, we know that everything tells us that he is absolutely not only going to break out, but once he does really get in a groove, that he is going to hopefully be either a man possessed for this team or just truly be the guy that, again, led to the $765 million. And expand a little bit more on Juan Soto, everybody, as you guys will be able to see here in just 1 second. Let me pull it up for each and every one of you. Take a look at the baseball savant numbers, everybody. 88th percentile currently in batting run value, 75th in base running run value. Fielding run value is 3rd percentile, but we're not going to focus on that. Here we go, XWOBA, 98th percentile. Again, one of the most unlucky hitters in baseball to begin the season. As a matter of fact, as of 24 hours ago, Juan Soto was the 2nd most unlucky batter in all of Major League Baseball, especially when we're looking at the XWOBA and the BABIP. Expected batting average, 90th percentile at a 299 average, when mind you, he's currently batting 233, so had some bad luck to say the least. 96th percentile in expected slugging, 95th in average exit velocity there at right around 94 miles per hour. Barrel percentage in the 87th percentile, roughly 15. Hard hit percentage of the 95th percentile, roughly 55. Sweet spot is still down there at the 30th range, and for 17%. 74th in bat speed at roughly 74 miles per hour, 91st in squared up percentage at 34.5, 100th percentile in chase rate. No one is going to be chasing pitches or lack thereof better than Juan Soto. 100th percentile, 14.8. Whip percentage at roughly 80th percentile there at 19. K percentage at 77th percentile, roughly 17. And walk percentage on the 99th percentile is a shock to absolutely nobody because he gets the Bonds treatment fairly often still at 16.9. Arm strength just above league average, arm value well below the average, and outs above average. Not so great for a guy, but I will give credit where credit's due. Soto's defense was much worse in April than it has been in May. He has been sneakily solid defensively, we've seen over the past couple weeks, but sadly he has had no consistency or rhythm in his offense to suggest that, okay, we're really going to start to lock in on all facets. Now it appears that Juan Soto is slowly but surely beginning to do exactly that. He's gaining more confidence. He's having more of a smile, more of a swagger as he's rounding the bases. And as he spoke to the media post-game there after their series sweep against the Rockies, he did make a note that, he loves the fans. He's always happy to see them roaring and hearing it there at Citi Field, the way the Mets have dominated at home so far this season. But can he keep the same mojo going without having the same amount of roaring fans? Mets fans will show up at Dodger Stadium, including myself, no doubt, but Dodger fans are going to show up plenty, and it's going to be a roaring crowd to see guys like Shohei, Mookie, Freddie match up against the big three of the Mets there for the second time over the past week or so, that being in Alonso, Lindor, and certainly Juan Soto. Now, guys, let me hear everything that you have to say about Juan Soto in the comments down below, because if there's one final thing that I want to add on the Juan Soto front, it's a fact that this is a Juan Soto that's in year one of a 15-year deal. We cannot lose sight of that. And in a win-now stage like the Mets are currently in, obviously I understand the adamancy of wanting to get the best out of him right away. But as I've said in regards to Lindor, because I never doubted him for a second, even when I've had everyone and their mother trying to suggest that he wouldn't amount to anything when he's already one of the best Mets in recent history, may go down as one of the best Mets ever. If Lindor helps bring a championship or two here, he will go down as one of the best, if not the best Met already in Mets team history. Because we don't have a storied franchise to suggest that we have all these championship accolades and all these deep playoff runs. They're so few and far in between. But if guys like Lindor and Soto can help rewrite the script there, then we're going to have little to nothing to complain about. And going back to Soto again, we saw the same treatment with fans and the media to a degree in year one with Carlos Beltran. The same way we saw plenty mistreatment of Francisco Lindor, an absurd amount of mistreatment his way in the first couple months of him being here, when, mind you, he was traded here. I know he signed the extension literally right before the first hour there of opening day for 2021 Mets season there. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was literally right at the buzzer, right before it hit midnight, and they got the negotiations done on his decade-long contract. But even bearing that in mind, you still have to remember the context of him being dealt here in the first place. Juan Soto chose to sign here, right? So I understand the fans that are saying to themselves, but Wardy, he chose to be here. And you know what? He isn't happy. He is happy. He just needs to get himself in a groove, and he's starting to now do that, everybody. So to all the people that have been naysayers, uplift this man, because the Mets are not going to get anywhere where they want to be this year without Juan Soto being at least close to the guy that he's supposed to be. And now to see him finally starting to tap into that potential more, we all see the expected numbers, all the underlying numbers tell you that he's going to be more than just fine. Now it's just a matter of him actually starting to get on the groove and do it. Will this West Coast trip be the start of him actually blossoming into something great this season? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. He is great, but can he be much better than what he's been? I know we all expect and believe that he can be. Let's just see him go out there and actually do it. But going on now from talking about the guys on the roster, from especially not just Alonso, but Soto and Lindor, them balling out, especially as of later this past week, let's talk about another guy who's balled out every single game, guys. I can't emphasize this enough. Every single game since moving up to Syracuse. And one final thing that I want to say, obviously, going back to Lindor for a second, the Mets have won 26 straight games in which he has, in fact, homered. They are now just 3 games shy of the MLB-wide record for such a stat from one player and the meaning for one specific team. So very, very cool stuff. And also, the last time the Mets lost a game where Lindor homered is going all the way back to July 3rd of 2024. Absolutely insane. Literally insane. Almost a full year ago. Bananas. But guys, now let's get on to talking about the one and only, not the one and only, not El Captain. No, let's talk about the man that might impact this offense really, really soon, because he's just forcing his hand so unbelievably well, guys. And let's talk about, yes, Ronnie Mauricio. As you guys see from the highlights, these are a true collection of Ronnie Mauricio highlights that I've been saving and combining since he first had a home run or a hit in Syracuse this season. Every highlight you see here is highlights combined over the past 10 games plus of Ronnie Mauricio, including his latest RBI single that he had for Syracuse as of today at the time of this video being recorded, but as of yesterday at the time you guys likely watching this, as it's dropping on June 2nd. On June 1st, Ronnie Mauricio had himself a 2-for-4 game, reached base 3 times, stole a bag, drove in a run. He's now down to just a .515 average, and I say down because he had a .560 average the last time I made a graphic like this for Ronnie a couple days ago. A .515 average and it's just under 1,400 OPS. I don't know, guys, he's starting to cool off now. I don't want any interest in Ronnie, said absolutely nobody. All jokes aside, guys, Ronnie Mauricio is still on an unbelievable tear right now. He's playing so good, and the best part of it all is that he had a full game at third base. He's been getting consistent full game reps at third base. He's been getting consistent reps at second base. And the Mets are doing this also because of the inconsistency from 1, and Mark Vientos, and 2, Luis Angel Acuna's bat has completely fallen off this past month. Mind you, a very small sample size, but Acuna wasn't even at a 40 WRC plus among eligible batters for the Mets this past month, in the month of May, after winning the Rookie of the Month there in the month of April. And while I love Luis Angel Acuna and all the elements he brings, if it's not going to be Jared Young, it very well could be an Acuna that the Mets consider to send down if they want a more impactful bat-first type player right away, the way that Ronnie Mauricio certainly is. Now, I understand what Ronnie does at the minor league level does not guarantee anything at the major league level, but what it does at minimum is give us a great idea as to what we could potentially get at the majors. And the same Ronnie Mauricio who made his MLB debut back in 2023 before faltering with a year-plus long injury that same ensuing offseason there in the Dominican Winter League, Ronnie Mauricio has been driving the ball out of the ballpark at an absolutely absurd rate right now, and he's in the 100th percentile in exit velocity. He's in so many great percentiles right now in the minor leagues among eligible batters with his sample size. And guys, this just looks like a man who, again, is just getting started for what could be an absolutely dominant year for him, batting from the left side and obviously getting some success from the right side too as a switch hitting phenom. But Ronnie Mauricio, everybody, it really has reached a point now in the Ronnie talk that we're all just kind of waiting for him to get called up, right? Are they going to wait until Ronnie really cools off to then call him up? Is Ronnie Mauricio ever going to really cool off in Syracuse, or is he going to be batting around 400 at least for the next month plus? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But what I can tell you is that both Carlos Mendoza and David Stearns are not only monitoring, but they are very aware of how good Ronnie's playing right now. And Mendoza spoke to the media this past day and said it's very positive news on his front with how he's progressing. We're hearing really, really good reports from our people in the system, especially in the farm, suggesting that he is playing out of his mind right now. And all that's left for Ronnie Mauricio, truthfully, before he gets the call, is just getting some more daily reps in Syracuse. The one thing that they have not done consistently yet with Ronnie at Syracuse has been playing on an everyday basis. He's been pretty much on an every other day schedule, but he has now played in back-to-back days, everybody, because Ronnie had a hit on May 31st, the final game in the month of May there that we didn't cover this past day because we didn't drop a big Mets updates video because it was such a quick turnaround with the day game for the Mets series finale against the Rockies. But Ronnie has had a hit pretty much every single game, it feels like, so far for Syracuse this year, and he now has played in back-to-back games. That is very notable because that's not something that Ronnie has done too much for Syracuse yet this season. Once he gets more consistent back-to-back days under his belt, and he does it proficiently, defensively sound, offensively just looks like the stud that he is right now, this bat will play up at the major league level. It will be impactful, and the Mets are going to bring him up sooner rather than later. We're just trying to figure out when exactly that's going to be, and that's my big question to all you guys watching this live on a replay. I want to hear in the comments down below, when do you think Ronnie Mauricio is going to get called up by the Mets this season? Do you think it's going to happen the next week or two? Do you think it's going to happen right before the All-Star break? Do you think it happens post-All-Star break? Whatever your thoughts are on that front, everybody, please make sure to relay them, and thank you so much again for doing exactly that. Because now let's go on from talking about Ronnie Mauricio and everything that's looked so great with him and the minor leagues, talking about the minor leagues in general, everybody, as we're going to give you guys a quick farm report, and then we're going to wrap up the show doing the best way we know how, and that's by getting into the latest series preview between the New York Metropolitans and the LA Dodgers of Los Angeles. I'm both excited and nervous to be there for this week. I gotta be honest with you guys. As a Mets fan, I haven't been in LA before. I know there's things I'm going to enjoy. I know there's things I'm certainly not going to enjoy. But most important of all, I just hope the boys play well when I'm there. But I digress. Let's talk about this farm and talk about what stood out for them as of late. Because 2 nights ago, from the time of you guys watching this right now, the following production happened on the minor league front. And not only did Ronnie Mauricio have a 1-for-4 game on the 31st with a walk, John Singleton went 2-for-4 with 3 RBIs, a walk, and 2, not 1, but 2 doubles. Love to see that. Luke Ritter went 2-for-4 with 2 RBIs and 2 doubles. Brandon Sproat went 5 innings of 2 earned run ball with 3 strikeouts. Another solid start for Brandon Sproat, slowly but surely working his way up. Love to see that back-to-back starts now for Brandon, where he's allowed no more than 2 earned runs or so in 5+ innings. We'll take those small victories for Brandon Sproat, who again may still impact this Mets team at some point this year, but he needs to get more consistent reps down at the minor leagues. It's clear that he has more work to do and more polishing in Syracuse. We saw then in Double A, Jack Weniger went 6 innings of 1 earned run ball, 7 strikeouts. The young right-hander is really impressed so far this year in Weniger, and he Zach Thornton and a couple others have now entered this new prospect mix of Mets pitching prospects that look like that they could be the next cream of the crop, if you will. The way that McLean, Sproat, and Ton kind of blossomed last year is the way that this year it's Jack Weniger, Zach Thornton, and there's at least one other that I'm just blanking on right now that really stood out that we've seen in the minor leagues. Ryan Clifford, 2-for-3 with an RBI and a walk. Nick Morabito, 3-for-4, 3 RBIs, a walk, and a stolen bag. And Jet the Met Williams, 1-for-4 with an RBI and a stolen bag there, batting leadoff, which he's done plenty this year for the Rummel Ponies. AJ Ewing looking fantastic. Again, since AJ Ewing started the year, he's torn the cover off the ball for Port St. Lucie. Now he's doing it for High A Brooklyn. He went 3-for-5 with 3 stolen bases. Speed demon there for Ewing. He's been comfortably batting like around 350 with over 1,000 OPS. He's been so good. Ronald Hernandez, 2-for-5 with a home run and a stolen bag. Jeffrey De Los Santos, 2-for-3 with 2 RBIs and a stolen bag. And Noah Hall went 4 shutty there and as a starter and 4 strikeouts. Luis Alvarez won 2.2 innings of 0 earned run, 3 strikeout ball. And the final thing I have to say on the prospect front before I get on to these past night's prospect report is that, guys, yes, at the time you guys watching this video, Elian Pena, the same top IFA signing who signed on a $5+ million signing bonus for the Mets this year, he makes his DSL debut there that we're going to see. So very exciting stuff, guys. We will start to have Elian Pena reports for you guys throughout the remainder of the year now to see how our top IFA prospect is performing as a man who many believe could high rise in the Mets minor leagues just within the next 2 years at least before potentially impacting them at the major league level. Exciting stuff for Pena if he could really transition quickly with the bat to ball skills. But going on now to talk further on the prospects, everybody. Heading back to Syracuse, they won their past night's game 5-4 over the Iowa Iowa Cubs. And the notables offensively were Drew Gilbert driving in a pair of runs there. 211 average, 645 OPS for Drew still. Ronnie, his 2-for-4 game that we just talked about. We also then saw at DH Mr. David Villar, who the Mets just signed. He got on DH and went 0-for-1 with an RBI and 4 walks, 250 average, 950 OPS. The Mets may consider Villar at some point this year as a utility man off the bench, basically as an Acuna replacement, because he's a righty option that has potentially more MLB upside right now, should again be warranted. But also Acuna, I think, brings so much with his base running and defense alone that I'm not sure that a limited stint for Villar is really warranted, unless you want to send Acuna down just to get more consistent reps. In that case, I do understand it a bit more. Joey Meneses went 1-for-5 in this one. Donovan Walton ripped his 8th home run of the year. Walton, 230 average, 700 OPS. Thankfully, the Mets did not let this man crack the team that we were somehow making stupid stories about in spring training because we have nothing else to talk about for that to be the case. And pitching-wise, Austin Warren did not have a good day. Came in as a spot starter today just to eat 2.2 innings, but allowed 3 earned runs. Still has just a 3.22 ERA there in the minor leagues. De La Cruz won 1.1 shutty, 4 walks, but 3 strikeouts. 5.4 ERA for the southpaw, who could impact the Mets this year as a lefty reliever option, but walked everyone and their mother in this one. Tyler Zuber scrolls outing. Love to see that 1.1 shutty. Has a sub-8 ERA, though. A lot more work to do. Anthony Ghost, another outing where he allows a run up to just under 5 now on the year with the ERA. Daniel Nunez went 1 shutty, no hits, no earned runs, no walks, no nothing, and 1 strikeout. 3 flat ERA. Nunez will be up in this pen back sooner rather than later. And Ty Adcock went 1 shutty there, and that's about that. Then we get on to the Roma Ponies, and the Roma Ponies in their latest game went 5-3 over the Bay Sox. The notables were guys like Gieber at pitching-wise for the Mets here, went 2 shutty and 4 strikeouts. Foster went 1 shutty. Guzman went 1 shutty. Let's see. Correa went 1 shutty. Ryan Lambert, the flamethrower right here, went 1 shutty with a walk and a strikeout down to a 2.25 ERA. Love to see that. Ross, who has moved up not long ago there that we saw from High A Brooklyn, got rocked in this one. 3 earned runs up to a 4.26 ERA. And Orlando, who continues to dominate this year in relief, 1.2 innings of 1 hit, 0 earned runs, 0 walk ball, 3 strikeouts, 1.29 ERA. Absolutely love to see that in the case of Orlando, everybody. But now let's get on to the Brooklyn Cyclones, the final prospect report we have, because the St. Lucie Mets' latest game was postponed due to inclement weather. So the Brooklyn Cyclones won their game as well. Everyone's winning in this one. 4-3 is the victory, and Suero had a home run, his 8th of the year. I love Suero. The catching prospect can play first base, corner, outfield, all over the place for Suero, the Bronx native. 2-for-4 with 3 RBIs up to a 243 average and an 856 OPS. Make sure you're focusing on Chris Suero in case you guys haven't already. He's been awesome. Jacob Reimer didn't get a hit this time, but still has a 318 average and a 993 OPS in the hot corner. He's been amazing. Carson Benj, first round pick last year by the Mets, 1-for-4 with 2 runs scored, 304 average and 925 OPS. Ewing did go 0-for in this game, surprisingly, but he's still batting 343 with 887 OPS. So not 1,000 OPS. I was off on that, but I was close on the average because he's been, again, tearing the cover off the baseball. Joel Diaz went 4.2 innings of 2 run baseball in this one with 1 walk and 5 strikeouts. After Diaz, we saw Ammons allow 1 earned run, but he still has a 2.35 ERA as a fantastic southpaw option in the Mets minor leagues right now. Hawkins won 1.1 shutty, Beck won 1 shutty, and Garcia won 1 shutty there, including a strikeout, and getting the win there, winning by a final score of 4-3, a 1.29 ERA, and had the save in Garcia. So guys, last but not least, let's talk about the LA Dodgers and this New York Metropolitan 4-game set. It's a big one because at the time of me recording this, the Dodgers are just getting set in their series finale against the Yankees. And currently, just to give you guys a live update from the time of me recording this right now, the Yankees are up 1-0. We'll see if the Yankees salvage the series and take the final game over the Dodgers after decimating and winning the past 2 games where they've just hit every home run imaginable. We'll ball out again in the finale. We'll see. But regardless, the Dodgers handled the Yankees fairly comfortably. I think we could all agree those first couple games at least. And they had a lot of offense out of their system. I'm hoping that the Dodgers have enough of this offense out of their system thanks to the Bronx Bombers being batting practice this time around and helping get that out of their system before the Mets are in town. Kind of funny how the Yankees and the Mets back-to-back are in LA there. And let's see if the Mets fare better than how obviously the Yankees have fared up until this point against the Dodgers this season. The Mets obviously won 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers just this past week alone. The only game they lost I was in attendance for, and I'm attending game 1 of this series. So if there's anyone to blame in advance, if the Mets get curb stomped in game 1 of the 4-game set, blame your guy Wardy. I have no problem taking it to a chin. I have to. Paul Blackburn's getting the game 1 start. It's Paul Blackburn making his season debut against the LA Dodgers. I'm sorry, this is not a slight on Blackburn, but you're fooling yourself if you're going into that with an uber amount of confidence. The only thing that the Mets have going for them is that hopefully Blackburn can get those ground balls to really induce and give us a solid 5 or 6 inning outing by not allowing any more than, hopefully, fingers crossed, 3 earned runs. If not, it's going to be a bit of a bullpen game, and that's not ideal for a Mets team that has a 4-game set in this series. Not a 3-game, it's a 4-game. But there is something going in their favor. The Dodgers, who are 36-22, while the Mets are 37-22, neck and neck as the best teams in the National League so far this season. We see game 1, toeing the rubber is not just Paul Blackburn for the Mets, but it's Dustin May with some of the nasty stuff in all of baseball, with his 4.2 ERA and 3-4 record there as the opposing starter. Then we get on to game 2 of this matchup. We have ourselves for the Mets, Mr. Tyler McGill and his 3.52 ERA, facing off against Clayton Kershaw, who the Mets barely saw because Kershaw had like 2 scoreless innings and 2 hitless innings against the Mets when I was in attendance, and then the long rain delay. Then they ultimately lost in the 13th inning, and sadly, I was there. Kershaw, with his just under 5 ERA, has had such a great success and track record against this Mets team. We'll see that transitions, or if the key lefty bats who do well against specifically left-handed pitching like Juan Soto and Brandon Nimmo, and that is actually something that I want to bring up when we preview this series, everybody, is Brandon Nimmo, since being moved in the 2-hole, has been absolutely thriving, everybody. As a matter of fact, in case you guys are wondering just how good Nimmo has been in that spot, let me enlighten you. Brandon Nimmo, batting in the 2-hole this season in his first 5 games, has a .412 average, a 1,121 OPS, 1 home run, and 2 RBIs. Very, very small sample size, I understand that, but Nimmo, who especially thrives against lefties, I'm looking at him, Soto, and if McNeil's in the lineup as well, then Jeff too, to see how they fare against the veteran southpaw. Again, a true Hall of Famer, no doubt about it, and Mr. Clayton Kershaw. Game 3 of this series is going to be Mr. Griffin Canning toeing the rubber against Tony Gonsolin. The Mets did well against Gonsolin last time around, as Canning has a 3.23 ERA, got rocked. It did not look good in his latest outing against the White Sox of all teams. 5-2 record, facing off against Tony Gonsolin, who has a 5.23 ERA and a 3-1 record. And the series finale, we have yet to find out who will officially be the Dodgers pitcher, but based on alignment, if they're going on a every 4th or 5th day or so, it's going to be Knack, who the Mets faced last time around, who still has a 5+ ERA, facing off against David Peterson, a 4-2 record with a 2.69 ERA. So guys, what am I looking at in this series? I'm looking for the runners in scoring position production. Goes without saying. The Mets thankfully didn't need to do too much for runners in scoring position this week to have success, but it's still something that's going to rear its head because the Dodgers are not going to be a team that gives you as many passes as others. But what the Mets have working in their favor, they have an offense that's finally starting to heat up after sweeping the Colorado Rockies, which you're never going to complain about. And you also have a matchup against a Dodgers team that's so depleted on the rotational front. You guys realize that? You have Game 1, Dustin May. Game 2, Clayton Kershaw. Game 3, Tony Gonsolin. Game 4, Knack. Again, these are all guys that with a very fully healthy rotation for the Dodgers are all on the back end for the most part, right? So not having to face guys like Yoshinobu Yamamoto, one dominant when he's actually right, Roki Sasaki, even though that really hasn't happened yet this season. When you think of the Tyler Glasnows, the Blake Snells, that in itself is a 4-headed monster when it's right and doing what's supposed to be doing. The Mets don't have to worry about any of that. So take advantage of the pitching matchups. This Mets pitching has carried them all season long at this point, giving them the best rotation, best overall pitching staff in baseball at this point. Take advantage of the opportunities given to you, because unlike the Rockies and unlike the White Sox, the Dodgers are not going to give you endless opportunity where you fail, where you say do not produce by having, say, 2 out of the first 4 innings of the ball game with bases loaded and you don't score more than a run. The Dodgers will make you pay because they are the effing Dodgers. They're the reigning champs for a reason. So do not get it twisted. Just because you have yourself maybe a favorable pitching matchup with a 4-game set against the Dodgers doesn't mean that they aren't going to expose you with your flaws completely, which is why there's such a poised and such a collected group the way that the Dodgers are. So between obviously when they're right and at their best, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and you look at the entire top of that order, you think of the Tommy Edmonds, you think of the Max Muncies, you think of all the guys, those pieces that hurt us in the NLCS last year, they're going to come to play. And they didn't show up all that much in this past series between the Mets and the Dodgers at home, but this is going to be a different series. It's a 4-game set. So at minimum, the Mets need to go out and split. And at maximum, you sweep the series, right? I don't expect a sweep from either team, but I do hopefully expect a series victory or a split at minimum. Listen, the Mets on the road have not been good this year. They're 13-15, but that doesn't tell the whole story. They've only won 2 series on the road this year. They have lost 5, and they have split 1. And the only one they split was a 4-game set. So let's see if the Mets split this 4-game set. They win this one, they lose this one. Either way, everybody, when it comes to Mets and Dodgers, I will have you covered live from Dodger Stadium in some type of format much later on today, or I'll be live right afterwards once I get back to my buddy's pad and I get all set up to do a live show on my laptop. You guys will be getting content from me daily while I'm in LA without a problem, everybody. The time zone should actually help me a little bit with covering some of these games, especially if I'm doing it not necessarily from the ballpark, but while I'm at my buddy's place, because it won't be like an absurd 1 a.m. the way it'll be for all you guys on the East Coast. At least I'll have that as a positive, so I'm really looking forward to it. Let's see how Wardy hits LA, baby. Until then, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you guys are watching this. And this is our latest Big Mets update segment. Let me know all your key takeaways in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I will see you all later on tonight live from LA. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.